Hey man, headquarters has begun analysis of the discs. They expect to have them decoded shortly. I hope whatever's on those discs is worth it.
Receiving incoming transmission from Arcturus Minsk.
You and Captain Rayner have done well, Commander. I believe our efforts have weakened the Confederacy's grip on the fringe worlds. But our job out here isn't done yet. Lieutenant Kerrigan, my second in command, will elaborate.
I'll get straight to the point. Our sources tell us that Antigua Prime is ready to begin open revolt against the Confederacy. Unfortunately, the Confederates seem to be aware of this as well. They've stationed a large detachment of Alpha Squadron troops there, under the command of General Duke.
It will be your job, Commander, to free this colony and show our good intent to the Antiguan people. Lieutenant Kerrigan will help you deal with Duke's officers. The rest of the Confederates are yours to deal with.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Starcraft. Sorry this episode is a little bit delayed, but one of the games that I'm really into, Hex, has got a release weekend on this weekend, so I am afraid that this video is going up a little bit late, but I will get the other videos out on time.
This is Jimmy.
So we've got Rayner, and who's this redhead?
Captain Rayner, I finished scouting out the area and... You pig!
What? I haven't even said anything to you yet.
Yeah, but you were thinking it.
Oh, yeah. You're a telepath. Look, let's just get on with this, okay?
Right. What?
Smooth work there, Jimmy boy. Meet Sarah Kerrigan. She is one of the central characters in this game and has a fairly interesting background. Whether it had been reviewed at this time or not, I honestly don't know, but Kerrigan was a Confederate ghost. She's now allied to the Sons of Korhal. But while she was a Confederate ghost, she actually killed Arcturus Menx's father. And Menx knows this, however, he is, and he's let her know that he knows this. However, because she's useful to him and has basically been...
They can sense me even when I'm cloaked. We should take these out.
basically because she's been big time useful to him, she's now pretty loyal to him, and they have a definite working relationship, and they're helping to bring the Confederacy down. Kerrigan has also been involved in experiments involving the Zerg, so she's fairly deeply involved in this, shall we say, at the moment. But like all ghosts, she's been through psychic reconditioning. I also believe that Kerrigan's psi rating is the highest of pretty much any ghost that there's ever been. So obviously having someone like her on your side is definitely the way forward, especially if you're trying to lead a little bit of a rebellion. Now she can cloak herself, but she also has this cool ability, Lockdown, which when she fires it, against any mechanical unit, it basically stops it moving or firing, or it pretty much shuts it down. So ghosts can be very useful against things like battle cruisers and just big mechanical units. They can just put them in a bubble and shut them down, which is something that is going to be exceedingly necessary as you get into the late game. However, ghosts tend to be, how can I put this, they tend to be a little bit, they're very Vespene gas heavy to produce, like super Vespene gas heavy to produce. So you really have to be careful how you do it, because they're not, there's certain units, you want to combine them really with sort of high mineral units rather than with units that also need Vespene gas, because if you do that, then, if you try and do multiple Vespene gas builds, then you're going to really struggle to use ghosts, because you're just going to run low on Vespene gas. So the best thing to use them with tends to be high mineral style unit. Still, now that we've taken care of that detector, we can just sneak in.
these Confederate goons long enough.
Base is under attack.
Okay, now this is the first mission that I have... Unfortunately, I'm kind of flying in here. These, my Marines aren't going to last long here. But, Jimmy doing what Jimmy does. Yeah, you see my Marines aren't really doing what they need to here. They're going to end up all dying, I think. So, but it doesn't matter. There's plenty more where they came from.
Confederate strike force advancing on our position.
Well, they're not wasting any time.
Nope, they are not wasting any time. However, we're not going to waste any time in getting defences up either. The Confederates really aren't any threat to us in this mission, and this mission acts mainly as an introduction to this ship, the Wraith. They are, you know, the Terran basic flyer, and it's a very good basic flyer. It can cloak. It's very good in air-to-air combat. The one thing that it's not so hot in is air-to-ground combat. It's really not good at that. It tends to, you know, it can attack ground, but it's a very low-powered attack. So it's not really, you know, if you're looking to blast something on the ground, Wraiths probably aren't the best thing for you to be using. However, you know, there isn't enough Confederate presence in this sector to really worry about that, as the final Confederate bunker burns down there, never mind, leaving one poor old Marine on his own. So the goal for this mission is pretty much to just go ahead and build up a big force of Wraiths. I'm obviously going to build Marines in the early game because you're going to need Marines to defend yourself. Just waiting until you can build 12 Wraiths is probably... You'll probably still win the level because the level's quite easy, but I like to have at least some supply of Marines going and have some defense. Versus the AI, it's very much a... when you're playing against a human, the game's very sort of mobile. When you're playing against the AI, it's very much turtle and then... You know, it's very much sort of turtle and then expand. So... There are a couple of places to expand to, but it's not really going to take up too much time here. I have done the editing on this mission, and I will be doing for future videos, as I've already said. So I'm going to build a control tower here that will allow me to research cloaking for the Wraiths, because a Wraith without a cloak is just completely, you know, it's just not a very good ship. They're basically scout fighters, more than anything else. But in air-to-air combat, they're super good. They're only really outclassed by the Protoss Scout, and the Protoss Scout is super expensive to build. So, and the Scout's just as bad against stuff on the ground as well. So, to be honest, Wraiths are definitely they're definitely a very flexible and very nice unit. So cloaking costs 150, 150, so I'm not really close to there yet. I'm gonna just build up my economy. Don't really need to build too many Marines to start off with. I just really need to build enough that I can fill these bunkers. And hopefully we'll get the Antigans on board. Antigua, named a colony after the West Indies, apparently. Let's try not to get supply blocked in this mission because it's embarrassing. It's always weird to me when you get into later missions in Starcraft, you start building sort of the high-end units. You know, you start building battle cruisers. If you're Protoss, you start building carriers. If you're Zerg, you start going like mass mutualist, mass guardian sort of thing. And the problem with that, of course, is that you really can't do that in... well, I suppose in StarCraft 1 carriers were heavily used, but it's like if you watch StarCraft 2, you see that you don't see the strategy of turtle up and make huge unit just doesn't really work against anyone who's super good. Yeah, you'll find someone maybe making, you know, if it's a challenge, they'll make like one battle cruiser or something like that because they're just too expensive and prohibitive to do. And in order to build them, you have to stop building other things. which means that, you know, you are lagging behind in... You're lagging behind, which will create a window of opportunity for your opponent. Whereas against the AI, you've just got all the time in the world to build up a monster army, so you might as well. I researched Stim to start off with. I think that, you know, I really should be researching Stim before the extended range. Although having said that though, if I'm following a turtle strategy, which is what I'm kind of doing, I suppose, then I really should be, I should probably get extended range first, because Stim's probably a bit more useful when I'm on the attack. So therefore, I should probably get extended range first if I can afford it. But a lot of it is obviously about affording it, because it's more expensive than researching Stim. Okay, that lets us get the one weapons upgrade. And I'm going to keep building supply depots there. I think that that's okay. You don't want to build too many at once, because obviously you can use those resources on producing units, and well, this is embarrassing. They've managed to come up the one area I don't have defended. Oh well, here you go, Marines. I don't think 3 fire bats are going to burn that down before I get here with my Marines, but this is exceedingly embarrassing. I mean, really what the AI should do here is, well, it's what he's doing now. He should actually... He might just be running with that fire bat, but where are you going? And why can't I double click on you? Oh, this is a disaster. What the AI should be doing with those fire bats is literally just walking into my my resource line and causing a load of havoc with them. But seems to be ignoring that, and now my Marines are just going to kill it. So that was rather embarrassing, but it looks like I've managed to get away with being terrible.
I'm ready. I gotcha.
Get that patched up and forget that it ever happened, I think. Let's build a combat station. Comsat station. Combat station? Comsat station. And I'm just going to expand down here to the second mineral patch. The other thing that I can do is I can also, building the second command center, even though it's a small mineral patch there, because once again of the Terran's vaunted flexibility, once I'm done with that command center I can just float it over to wherever else I need to expand to. So you only unless you want to go like massive comsat scanning, you really don't need a monstrous amount of command centers going on here. You can always float them over. Depends obviously on what's more efficient for your time. Also, I've now gummed up that area with bunkers, so they're not going to come through there again. So with that done, with 2 mineral patches being mined, I should have enough now to pretty much constantly produce supply depots and race. You'll notice that I've got sort of high end supply but not high current supply. I should stop at this point building supply depots and just build units until I get to the point where I'm almost, you know, when I get to the point where I'm actually I am getting close to supply block, then build another. It's just a more efficient use of units, because, you know, currently there's what, 20 spare supply there, so that's 300 minerals. It's like that's enough minerals to build a battle cruiser, so that's something you've always got to like think about, and this is why you don't queue units up.
Add-on complete.
But I mean, I know I am going to be building 12 wraiths minimum. Well, this counterattack is happening. Yep, that happened. Yep, definitely happened. Don't think they did anything, but it did. The counterattack definitely happened. I'm annoyed to see myself queuing stuff. What I should actually do here, if I've got so much minerals, I should just build a 3rd barracks and just start producing out of 3 barracks. Or I should build a 2nd starport and start producing out of 2 starports. But it's very easy when you play against the AI, it's very easy to just get lazy, because there's really no need to play a lot more optimally. But when I move on to Brood War, if I indeed if I do indeed think about moving on to Brood War, I should definitely tighten up my play on that front. Anyway, we are now looking at just defending ourselves at this point. I'm just putting down a couple of missile turrets just to act as defenders and just in case the enemy try a drop, which I don't think they ever do, but again, I sort of get very how can I put this? I get very protective of my bases when I'm playing single player. And you can see there, I've got like 40 extra supply. That's 5 supply depots, which is 500, 500 minerals. Not that I need it because my money's quite high anyway at this point. And this is the area I was looking at. This is the secondary. This is sort of an expansion base that the Terrans use, that the enemy use. So I'll be flying over here with my wraiths, and the secondary thing I will do is just do a big drop on them. So because I know an attack's going, I just queue up a load of stuff, because again, I really am not I'm not tremendously good at macro like that when the attacks are going, so I just queue up a load of stuff. Sorry, it's what I do.
Read the waiting launch orders. Roger, want a piece of me, boy?
So this is where the budding relationship between Sarah Kerrigan and Jim Raynor starts, and of course starts with her calling him a pig, and pretty much gets worse from that point on. Wraiths are a very useful unit. There are a couple of missions where I think they're pretty broken. Reason for that being, I think this is one of them, because the Terran that we're up against doesn't use detectors pretty much ever. So, he's not using comsat stations or anything like that, so cloak wraiths are just monstrously overpowered. Just going in with 12 wraiths and just obliterating absolutely everything. And we're obviously going to claim this area for ourselves because it's a really rich mineral patch, and I think the Vespian Geyser, however you want to pronounce it, is fairly rich as well. Goliaths are very good against wraiths usually, but only when they can see them. And currently they cannot see them, so therefore this is going to be a massacre. And the AI tends to make a mistake when it sees a battle. It just throws units at it, and obviously if it's against an invisible enemy, then you're just throwing away resources here. And a lot of playing, or at least to me, a lot of playing RTS games is making better use of the resources available than your opponent does. So, each of these Goliaths costs 100 minerals and 50 Vespian gas, so if you're looking at it at the moment, I've taken out probably about 8 Goliaths, about 10 SCVs and a bunch of Marines. You're talking... And one of my Wraiths is decloaked, and about 5 Wraiths, something along those lines. So, this is a big time victory of an attack, because I've probably cost them about 2,000 minerals and about 500 Vespian gas for the loss of absolutely nothing. Now, of course, this doesn't work quite as well against the AI, because the AI has a load of stuff that begins the level, because if you attack an AI's base, you pretty much always notice that the AI only ever has like 4 the AI only ever has like 4 SCVs mining, so it pretty much starts out with a bucket load of resources but doesn't really mine any new ones. So you're not really playing the sort of mid-range game, as it were. You're not playing the try and out-resource them game as much as possible, but this I think it's a good habit to get into. So I'm just queuing up a bunch of drop ships, because I'm going to do a pretty big drop over here. First thing I'm going to do is drop an SCV so I can just expand here. There's really no need to do this. At this point the level's pretty much done and dusted. As you can see, I've repaired all my wraiths. So dropships do have decent armor, even as I think they have armor 2 as default. So they're not completely vulnerable, but obviously wraiths will just utterly destroy them if you give them the chance.
Can I take
So, I'm going to send the dropships over, and we're going to load up this small contingent of Marines that I've just built up over here. And this is why, if you're going to do anything, it's always a little bit of a... It's always a bit of a bonus to just keep building a Marine army, because you can always just drop a big old Marine army on your opponent. You should always be building, you know, get Marines out of the barracks. If not Marines, get... if not Marines, just be constantly building out of... You know, if you're not building... These sort of levels where you mine a load of minerals, etc. Somehow they found the one bunker where I don't have any Marines. Okay, well, we'll sort this out quickly. But... You know, you should constantly be building out some of your facilities. Once you get into the later game, when you're building battle cruisers, etc., you really should just be, you know, you're building sort of 2 battle cruisers at a time or something along those lines. Just constantly using your money. The problem with these missions is because your tech's limited, so you can't go up the tree, you just end up... There's almost no way you can keep your money low because all your units cost pretty much nothing. So if you're on... You know, if you're on 3 or 4 bases, then you're just earning way too much money to actually spend. And that's the situation that I've got in here. I just physically cannot spend all this money. So, therefore, I just do the standard and queue up a load of stuff and send it down to the build-up area. So, you know, a little bit excessive as usual, but hey, why not? Queue up a bunch of SCVs. Unfortunately, like in Starcraft 2, you can't actually rally to the... you can't rally to a mineral patch. You have to tell every individual SCV to mine a mineral patch, which is a little bit annoying, but hey. And don't be worried about what's flying in at the top of the screen. That's one of my... I decided to float the barracks over because I'm certainly not going to keep doing a shed load of drops. So just floating the better part of my base over and seeing how it goes. Of course it can't land now because some Marines decided to get in the way. So let's move them out of the way. They decided to have a big old kegger party underneath there. Oh, ow! Yeah, they... That's why you should pretty much always, especially as Terrans, you should pretty much always comsat before moving into somewhere. Because if you don't comsat, you will get that. The Terrans will have spider mines everywhere and you will regret it. But there's plenty more where they came from, as the saying goes, and I think it's time that we just waltzed into our opponent's base. Again, I'm not comsatting, and I should be doing Sumi. The early levels in Starcraft, in fact most of the levels in Starcraft, you're not going to be playing optimally by any stretch. Once the game gets harder, you will have to start playing, or you know, once you start getting into the later levels, you will really have to start sort of thinking your way around things. Whereas at the moment, it's just gather everything up into a monstrous ball and fling it. So 36 Marines and 12 Cloaked Wraiths, let's go. There will be spider mines around here, I'm absolutely sure. Well, the Marines are very useful for taking out the missile turrets. We can see the Wraiths, which makes things a little bit awkward. There's some spider mines, and there go a few of my Marines. But yeah, this is we're pretty much done here, I think. See, the Antigans. Obviously, the Confederates didn't send that large of a strike force because a platoon of Marines and some Wraiths commanded by a complete idiot are just waltzing all over their base. And I do love me some Marines. It looks like I lost quite a few Wraiths there, so let's just replace them. This is why you should always try and, like... what I should do is, because I'm going Wraith Marine, I should have my starport and my barracks hotkeyed. So while I'm attacking with everything, I should just be building out of them constantly. So I just have a completely and utterly... I just have this savage run of reinforcements coming in. I'm losing rates at a rate of knots because I'm not even bothering taking down these missile turrets, but, you know, Marines get the job done, because Marines. The rates are pretty fragile, so... And there's no upgrades in this level for ships, I don't believe, so they're doubly fragile. But this is the last of the Confederate presence on this planet, and Antigua will now join the Sons of Korhal. So we've done a good job there, and we've introduced Sarah Kerrigan. She might be a major character going forward. Something in the game might be about her. You never know. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.